So this is only going to be video number 2 on my page. I'm going to try and keep it short, quick, and to the point. My last video was, I think, in January? I don't remember. And I've been so afraid to start on this journey to do videos, but I'm going to get over that because things are going remarkably well in my life, and that's something new for me. And I want to put it somewhere so that I can remember it in me with my own voice, not just in writing, because I have been journaling quite a bit in the last several months. I'm looking at a journal entry that I had from back early March, because this is not something that I've ever put out there in the world, but my friends, everybody in my life now knows I started taking medication for ADHD back in December, and I remember taking it that first day. And prior to taking it, I had spoken with my doctor who's prescribing it, and he said, simply based on your history and how your reactions to things when you're overwhelmed or overstimulated, it's typically irritation or anger or frustration or lashing out. He said it's a 50-50 split. You could do phenomenal. It could be life-changing for you, or you'll flip out and you'll hulk out and you'll go bananas on the world. And I was like, cool. What? So I took it with a lot of reservations and a lot of fear, and I was very happily surprised when on day 1, about 4 hours into my day, I realized, wow, I really can't even put it into words how different I felt on day 1. It was like someone threw the emergency brake on in my brain, and I was able to harness that crazy energy in my head. So it's not like anything has changed a whole lot, because I still do a million things at one time. Like, I've always explained it like I start doing this task, and then it reminds me of this task, and then it reminds me of this, and I go back and forth. But the problem prior to medication for me was that my dog is drinking water in the background. Prior to starting medication, I would be doing all these different tasks, but at the same time was freaking out and stressed out about bouncing around. I still bounce around from task to task. I just don't have stress about it. I'm just like, oh yeah, and I start that, and then I go back to the next thing. Or in some cases, I go and I complete a task and I do just that. That is the only thing I work on, and then I finish that, and I come to a stopping point and I go on to the next thing, which is not something I was ever really able to do comfortably. So that was new. But I felt it. I felt it on day 1. On day 1, I felt like I was able to really respond to the world around me versus reacting to things. And I thought, holy crap, that's crazy. And at the time, I was only on 5 milligrams of this medication twice a day. 5 milligrams. And I felt an immediate change. And so for like the first week or 2, I was like on top of the world. I was feeling productive. I was feeling motivated. I was coming home and tackling things that I would stare at and look at in my home that I needed to work on. And I was just doing them without reservation. And it felt phenomenal in my mind. And then I hit this point. And the point was, I got a little angry. And then I got angry at my parents. I got angry at the system around me when I was a child. Who people probably saw me struggling. I struggled through school. School was horrifically difficult for me, all the way up until I graduated college. It was horrifically, terribly hard for me. I just didn't get things. I didn't understand things, and my comprehension was so low, and I just nobody saw it or acknowledged it. And so I had this moment where I was really angry, really, really angry. I got really frustrated at the fact that nobody saw it, or if they did, they just kind of ignored it. And then I grieved a life that I could have had. I spent a good month, and I discussed this in therapy with my therapist, like a good month grieving a life that I should have or could have had. Meaning, if there had been interventions and help for me with all my struggles in my education, I could have been better as a student and done better as a student throughout my educational career. I could have done a lot better and been a stronger student and maybe absorbed a lot more, because I feel like I just kind of coasted through school. My retention on things was just so low, and I don't think looking back, it feels like nobody really cared. Like you just kind of got skated through. And so I grieved a life that I thought, man, it could have been better. And then, I was discussing it with my therapist, and she was like, yeah, you're allowed that. And so I processed through that for a while. And so part of my reaction to this medication was, people just live able to do all this. Like, there's no reason. They don't have to take a pill. They just exist knowing and being able to do these things. And it's like a little paragraph. I'm just going to pick through parts of it. And she said, yes, when the initial medication revolution starts to become the norm, then yes, anxiety and depression do come back and seem extra spicy. That's because I'm going to say this. So this entry's from March. So I had been on the medication for a couple of months. And she's and my depression had become very, very strong. My anxieties were up a little bit, and I was feeling sad all the time, like just really grieving different parts of my life, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, I felt great, and I felt really good up here, but like I was almost like trickling backwards, like, yeah, but you're still a piece of shit. Like, people still don't like you. And she said part of it is the burden of knowledge that we squirrels did not ask for, but were born with, thanks to all these extra neurotransmitters that the muggles don't have, which that sentence just makes me giggle. But there's a flip side. The joy we are capable of experiencing over the simplest things is something muggles will never feel or understand. And she's not wrong. I mean, there are things that I feel extreme joy about. Not any that I can pinpoint, but I think I find excitement in life in places that other people just don't see. Or I'm learning to. Like, I'm relearning those things now that I feel a little bit better. The fact that we can burst into tears thinking and talking about trees. Or laugh till we can't breathe over a perfectly placed meme reference played out in real life. Like, just little things like that. Like, finding joy in little moments that happen. Like, for example, I was watching a movie with a friend last night. She was over and we were painting. And we were watching Shrek. And we're watching Shrek the Third. And there's a scene where Shrek says, you, frumpy pigskin. And we cackled for like 10 minutes about it because it's hilarious. He's talking to Rumpelstiltskin, but he calls him frumpy pigskin. And it's so funny. And then she said the muggles only get a fraction of that because their brains are blocked and function on a lower vibration. So it seems they're happy in their ignorance because they legit don't know what they're missing out on. Most of them don't care because they only see us struggle with the normal things and think we're the ones missing out on life shit. And it's true. Like, so I had to check myself because I was like, yeah, I was stressing about the wrong things, I guess. And my response on my journal for that conversation we had through email was, the anxiety and depression coming back is a fucking nightmare. I just wanted a quick fix. I want a quick fix and thought I had it with this medication. Apparently it's a lifelong struggle, which sucks. That's not what I said, but I'm going to edit myself. But her explanation of being a squirrel brain and not discounting the joy we get to experience was a good take on it. I'm going to try a lot harder to focus on the small glimmers and joy I see in each day or moment. This is going to be a hard task for me since I'm stuck in this you're a piece of crap mentality, which I think is something I'm going to deal with forever. I don't know that that mentality can go away ever. I think if it's something that was ingrained in my own brain and my own perception of myself at a young age, it's going to take a long time to break that and get rid of it. So trying to shift from that to positive is hard. My default is I don't know how to fix that, which is true. I don't know how to fix that. That's why I am in therapy still. She also said masking is exhausting. So yes, always performing and letting energy be drained so that we don't get questions about what's going on with us because we don't want to have to explain it to everyone. Like, I am known in my circles and through a lot of acquaintances as the funny friend. And for a long time, I allowed that to be my identity. The fat funny friend. Everybody jokes and blah, blah, blah. The funny person. You're so funny. Tell that story again. And I'm like, great. And I would tell the story and laugh. And, but deep down I was miserable. I hated myself. But you can't let people know that because then they don't know what to tell you. They don't know they don't know how to act around you. And I'm like, for a long time I was people pleasing by default. And I thought, I can't be sad because everybody expects me to tell the jokes and tell the stories. And I had never used the term masking for my entire life because I had no idea that was what it was. I just assumed that I was a people pleaser and that was my lot, and I was going to just be stuck in that role forever. I didn't think that I could have autonomy to be somebody different, to be something different, to be seen as something different by people. And that's profound when you think about it. I wrote, I had never used the term masking because I didn't know it was a thing until I realized it was what I had been doing most of my life by always being happy and being on for everyone. Now that I realize it's a mask and I'm allowed to take it off from time to time, it's forced me to think about when and why I'm masking, especially with friends and my good friends. I said, and then, I've been in therapy for about 2.5 years now, intensive therapy, really. She's a phenomenal therapist. She really is. I've worked hard in the last year to allow myself to be sad, even in the company of the people, like of my friends. Like I allow myself to have off moments where I'm not trying, or I'm not asked to be the center. Not really. They don't sound like that. I'm not asked to be on and tell jokes and be funny. I'm just allowed, if I'm having an off day, to have that off day. I think it's allowed for more genuine interactions with people. Conversely, I think it's allowed others to take notice when I am off and I don't request things of me. So, like, they're not asking me to, be that person who carries conversation or whatever. I don't know. We had a conversation back and forth about isolating, which is something I used to do all the time. I still do, and I think it's important. I think it's important on this journey that I'm on, learning and remapping in my brain how to exist in a world that I perceive differently than others, which everybody perceives things differently, which is obvious, but I do think that my brain is wired completely different from traumas, from experience, from things that have happened to me, from things that happened around me, that happened like parallel to my life. Like, there's a lot of things that have happened that, we all use dark humor to deal with in some way, some fashion. And I think that I have to give myself permission to not always be accessible to people, because I've always been accessible and not taken time for myself to isolate. And it's an important thing. It's important to allow yourself, like, to choose to say, no, I'm not doing this. And that's okay. Going maskless, like, that was how we ended our email exchange on this, was the hard part is you, in all capitals, choosing to let yourself go maskless and allow yourself to exist without stipulations, conditions, or anything. You don't have to be anything to exist. You don't have to be you don't have to be funny, you don't have to be entertaining, you don't have to be fat, you don't have to be skinny, you don't have to be this, you don't have to be that. You can just exist simply as you are. Learning to accept myself, and that's the hardest part, is accepting who you are in this world. There's no stipulations on it. You just get to be yourself. So that was a really good thing to think about as far as like, you know, who I am as a person. So I think, so now we're into May, and it's May the 4th be with you. I'm looking forward to seeing how my roles will shift over time with my circles, and that's okay. Like it may shift, and people may leave, and people may enter my life. I'm trying really hard to explore my own mind and my own heart and make them meet in the middle and appreciate that. I'm working really hard to like become a really better version of myself, which I've been trying really hard. And I almost like I had this fleeting moment like about a month ago where I was like, everything just seems really good. And I had mentioned that, and I was like, a friend of mine was like, yeah, but that's when most people quit therapy. And I was like, yeah, because I'm like, what do I really need to work on? And then all these negative thoughts started coming back into my mind, and I was like, yeah, but you know what? You know, like no matter how good you feel every day, you still might be a piece of shit. Like you still might not be a good person. And then there's the whole where life is evolving and things are getting better for me, like just personally, and in my personal life, like and in my mind and my body and my spirit. And then I still don't believe I deserve any of it. And so there's this weird flip side. Like you go into therapy because you feel really, really fractured and you feel really broken and you don't know what to do. Like you're worried about what you would do. So then you go and you're 2 years, and early on in therapy, I had read something where it takes upwards of 2 years to get your brain to remap, and I'm just at that 2-year point, and it's like, so I can't quit, and that's scary to me because this is when people will walk away from therapy, and I'm not walking away from therapy. I'm just saying we're in uncharted territory now, because now is when the actual real hard work is going to start. Like really, this is where really digging in, and self-acceptance is going to be really hard for me. And that's weird. It's weird. Some people just have phenomenal self-acceptance. They don't, and most of the time the people that have that really phenomenal self-acceptance are not the greatest people that are walking around this earth. They're very like not good people, and they just have this high acceptance that they are just this great human, and they're just not. And so I'm kind of stuck in this place where I don't want to come across like arrogant or conceited or narcissistic or something. It's just really hard for me to say, yeah, you're a good person and you do deserve good things, because I don't think that I do. Not yet. I don't know. I don't think that I'm that good of a human that I deserve. I don't think I deserve what's being brought to my table, and I want to accept those things. Like I really do. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try really hard to acknowledge that I do deserve good things. And so I hope, if this wasn't too rambly for you, you can drop a little comment or a like, or follow my page and encourage me a little bit, maybe, to continue doing these. I guess like video journals. I don't know. I really don't know where the direction of this page is going. I just know that I'm getting comfortable in hearing my own voice again, which is something I was never really good at. So this might be number 2 of many videos. So maybe like once a week I'll post a video. Maybe on Sundays and Wednesdays is when I don't know. I'm going to kind of come up with a schedule of when I post videos. But for now, leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe.